Hello, today is Friday, July 10th, 2026. Here is your daily signal. According to the Associated Press, escalating military actions in the Middle East have triggered widespread disruptions to global oil supply chains, with strikes near Kuwait and Bahrain forcing vessels to reroute and raising fears over continued shipping threats. This escalation, centered around the Strait of Hormuz, a critical choke point where 25–30% of world oil and 20% of liquefied natural gas transit, has strained energy markets and inflated insurance costs as uncertainty around conflict duration continues. On July 10, oil prices surged to $122 per barrel after reports of missile attacks forced the suspension of more than 30 tankers carrying crude to Asia. Maritime insurance premiums for ships transiting the Persian Gulf have jumped by more than 80%, and the International Energy Agency estimates up to 19 million barrels per day of global oil capacity are threatened or disrupted. In the near term, analysts expect crude and LNG prices to stay extremely volatile and elevated, raising inflation especially for energy importing nations. Supply chain disruptions are also likely to trigger shortages and cost increases across manufacturing, aviation, shipping, and food production. Over the medium term, the persistent instability could prompt governments and industries to invest more in strategic oil reserves, alternative shipping routes, and non-oil energy infrastructure. The risk of fragmentation in global oil markets may rise as buyers seek to diversify away from Middle Eastern suppliers and bolster regional alliances. Next, on to global defense and technology moves. Bloomberg reports that NATO and U.S. military policy are undergoing major strategic shifts in 2026, with the latest NATO summits focused on expanding regional defense manufacturing and reducing American military contributions in Europe. Recent summits have prioritized strengthening Europe's ability to produce precision weapons and reinforce defense autonomy, as the U.S. withdraws submarines, reduces bombers and fighter jets, and rebalances drone support. At the July NATO summit in Ankara, President Donald Trump announced a $3 billion defense investment surge, including plans for Lockheed Martin and Rheinmetall to co-produce ATACMS missiles and establish a Patriot PAC-3 sustainment facility in Germany. Lockheed Martin and Rheinmetall officially signed a memorandum during the Defense Industry Forum to launch ATACMS production in Germany, marking a strategic change in NATO's deterrence architecture. A classified briefing at NATO headquarters has revealed that U.S. assets, bombers, submarines, and jets will be sharply reduced, leaving Europe a deadline to fill these gaps. The immediate need for upgraded defense manufacturing and local missile production will drive new urgency across the continent. Medium term, NATO may improve strategic autonomy and interoperability, but temporary reductions in U.S. support could weaken deterrence and readiness until European defense capabilities are expanded. American industry, particularly Lockheed Martin, Rheinmetall, and other major defense firms, stands to benefit from increased European procurement, while Ukraine receives additional financial and technical backing but remains uncertain about full NATO membership, risking continued regional instability. Now, turning to cybersecurity and quantum tech. New Scientist highlights the growing concern that quantum algorithms, especially Shor's algorithm, could undermine the cryptography systems keeping the global internet secure. Shor's quantum approach threatens the classical RSA encryption that has safeguarded digital transactions since the 1970s, and the National Institute of Standards and Technology NIST has long led efforts to establish post-quantum cryptography standards. Quantum computers surpassing 100 qubits have demonstrated key strides toward practical cryptanalysis as of 2024, with major tech companies IBM and Google developing quantum-safe protocols. On July 10, IBM revealed a new 1121-qubit quantum processor designed to accelerate cryptanalysis, while Google launched a prototype extension for quantum-secure browsing. NIST formally selected Kyber and Dilithium as new encryption standards on the same day, marking a significant step in the transition to post-quantum security. The shift to new cryptographic standards could require massive upgrades to Internet software and hardware within the next 2 to 5 years, and financial institutions may face heightened risks of breaches during the migration, with trillions of assets potentially exposed. Many governments are already stockpiling encrypted data in anticipation of future quantum decryption capabilities, and secure communications, especially for military and diplomatic channels, will demand quantum-resistant authentication protocols in the medium term. Now, onto the markets. International equities showed mostly modest gains, with Taiwan rising 1.1% and the strongest monthly advance seen in Singapore up 10.9%. Germany drifted slightly lower today while Belgium lost 1.3%, marking it as the top decliner among European markets. Commodities were mixed. Gold eased by 0.3% and silver dipped 0.4%, while wheat surged 2.9% on strong momentum and uranium jumped 1.5% for the day. Among favorites, Nvidia led with a daily increase of 4%, outpacing semiconductor peers, while Oracle dropped 2.4%, making it the top loser in the group. The S&P 500 climbed 0.4%, driven by advances in financials and real estate. Healthcare declined 0.8%. Notable gainers included Global MoFi IGMM, up over 118% after announcing product enhancements, with Desec Technologies and Aardvark Therapeutics also showing strong gains. On the downside, Heoxi Health Technology fell by almost 69% to become the session's worst performer, followed by deep losses in 707 Cayman Holdings and OppFi warrants. That's it for today. You can find more news and details on our website. Goodbye.